Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the JP Football Podcast. Today. So, there isn't that much Everton news today, to be completely honest. The news I do have, I will obviously share, but it's a bit of a quiet day going around Finch Farm, Goodison Park, Everton in general. But the big thing that we're going to talk about today, since there's not too much to talk about Everton today, the big thing we're going to talk about today is the World Cup qualifiers, ladies and gents. That's right, the World Cup qualifiers. But before we jump into that, let's discuss Everton, what's going on with the club, and all that good stuff. So, the first things first, actually, this is actually kind of related to the World Cup. So, Salomon Rondon, yeah, Everton's newest signing. So Salomon Rondon will not be taking part in Venezuela's World Cup qualifiers, and he will be available to play for Everton in their next match after the international break. That's a bit weird to me and comes at a bit of a shock because last video I mentioned, Rondon, he was going to miss like 2 games for us because of isolation and taking part. But now it's saying, oh, actually, he's not going to be with Venezuela, and he should be back. Make of this what you will. But you know what? Yeah, if he's staying in England, right? Not going to Venezuela to participate in the World Cup, and he will be available against Burnley, which is our next game, and it's not the 2 game. I'm all for it. Again, I'm all for it because our squad depth ain't that great. Isn't that great at the moment. So, yeah. We need every player we can get. That's all I got to say about Rondon. Right here, according to the Liverpool Echo, Rafa Benitez has no intention of freezing James Rodriguez out of the Everton team. However, with the Russian, Portuguese, and Turkish transfer window still open, Everton are still looking at all remaining options of getting a club to take the Colombian. Well, I'm happy to hear that news. The first part, at least, that Rafa has no intention of freezing James Rodriguez off the Everton first team because, again, with a talent like James Rodriguez at your club, you need to utilize him as a player. You need to get him some game time. He needs to play. Just straight up, he needs to be playing games, especially if he's fit. But obviously, again, Portugal, Russia, Turkey, their windows are still open. So, I mean, to be honest, I don't know why. Again, Portugal, the Portuguese league, that's more understandable. But I don't see why a Turkish club or a Russian club wouldn't want to take James Rodriguez, unless it were the wages. Oh, well, actually, I just answered my own question. So I guess wage-wise, because I don't think James would take a pay cut to join a Turkish side or a Russian side. So wage-wise, that's honestly the only reason why I don't see one of those, a Turkish team or a Russian team, taking James Rodriguez. And again, even though those 3 windows are open, Portugal, Turkey, Russia, I don't see us selling him to any of those clubs. Like, again, regardless of wage, and just regardless of wage or as a player in general, I just don't see us selling him to a club like any of those clubs that are a part of Portugal, Turkey, and Russia. So I'm really hoping, he will be a part of the first team plans. If Rafa is being serious and he's not freezing him out, then let's get him some games. Let's get him on the bench at least. And, so we can show off the quality and the talent that we all know is there and we all know that has. Because I want James Rodriguez to play for Everton. I want to see him play more games in an Everton shirt. I want to see him score more goals, and I honestly think he can change the manager's mind if he does a bit of that. So, yeah. But that's even if he wants to say. So again, the whole James Rodriguez saga, the drama, I just wanted to end at this point. Just let him play football, just let's just get him playing football. Hopefully he's fit. That's all I can really say about that at this point. Moving on, according to the Telegraph, apparently Newcastle United were offered Everton defender Mason Holgate on loan this summer. Now, I know what y'all going to think. Oh, well, Josh, wouldn't you be all for that? You're not the biggest fan of Mason Holgate. You slander him a bit, and he's not Everton's best defender. Yes, I agree. I haven't been Mason Holgate's biggest fan lately. Yes. And he isn't one of our best defenders. He's just not. But look, I would have actually been very, very, very upset if we loaned Mason Holgate to Newcastle United. because we need squad depth. Okay. And Mason Holgate leaving was a defender we've gone down. All right. And that just leaves us with like what, Michael Keane as a number 2 center back, and maybe someone else filling his plate, and Jared Branthwaite or something, like, which isn't all that fantastic. Okay. So again, Ben Godfrey and Yerry Mina should be our starting center back partnership. But Michael Keane and Mason Holgate are a fine number 2. Again, I'm not saying, how do I phrase this? Mason Holgate is a fine backup center back, just not a starting center back, but fine as a backup. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to see Mason Holgate really starting games, especially if it's with Michael Keane, but coming on late to help defend, or going on as an extra defender, or starting the occasional cup game, although against Huddersfield, bit questionable, bit scary along with Michael Keane. That's fine. It's whatever. So that's actually why. And again, Mason Holgate and Michael Keane proved me and proved Evertonians and showed that they can have a good game every now and then, like they did previous game against Brighton, if no one's necessarily available. So yeah, that's why I would have been upset if he went to Newcastle United on loan. So I'm glad we've kept Mason Holgate. I am. Does that mean I want him starting games again? No, he's a good option coming off the bench in defense, and he's a good, backup per se. All right. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different starting versus backup. That's all it is. I just don't want him starting, but I do want him at the club because I do think he's a good squad player and he can help contribute. And that's all I got to say about Mason Holgate. Moving on. So Demarai Gray has gotten a Player of the Month nomination in the Premier League, and Rafa Benitez has gotten a Manager of the Month nomination in the Premier League. Both well-deserved nominations. I hope they both win. Especially with Rafa, the start he's had for our season. Demarai Gray's been on fire. Obviously, the other managers, I think David Moyes was another nomination. Another player, I forgot the other player nominees. I just saw Demarai Gray and was excited. But again, the nomination is well-deserved. And I can only hope that Demarai Gray wins Premier League Player of the Month. And if Rafa wins Premier League Manager of the Month, well, that's good. It's an award. It's an accolade. And yeah, I'm rooting for them, obviously, as an Evertonian myself. But anyways, that is literally like all the news I have about Everton today. So now we are going to be moving on. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about the World Cup qualifiers. That is right. 2022 World Cup in Qatar. I mean, it's next year, ladies and gentlemen. The World Cup is next year. It only happens once every 4 years. It's the biggest sporting event. Well, let me rephrase. The Olympics is the biggest sporting event. But when it comes to football, the biggest sport in the world, this is considered one of the biggest sporting events in the world and ever. I'd put the World Cup next to the Olympics for the sole fact that football is the number 1 sport in the world, and the World Cup is the biggest footballing competition sport in the world. Okay. World Cup's a big deal. Even people who aren't football fans know about the World Cup. Okay. So, and I love the World Cup. I've caught World Cup fever ever since 2014. So yeah, I'm extremely excited to talk about qualifiers. So now I'm just going to say this right off the bat. I will not be talking about the African Football Confederation, and I will not be talking about the Oceania Football Confederation for these World Cup qualifiers. Now you're probably thinking, whoa, Josh, but they're a part of World Cup qualifying. Why aren't you talking about them? Let me explain. For AFC, African Football Confederation, or whatever they call it, they are currently still in like the second round of qualifying. Okay. So, which means the teams that move on to the next round are the teams that are going to be officially like competing to like officially qualify for the World Cup. All the other confederations I'm talking about, basically, if you win your group or you finish in a high enough place, you're moving on to the World Cup. Okay. Africa is not in that stage yet. Okay. Africa are still in the stage where they're trying to slim down the teams to go to the third round or something like that. And the third round is when, if you win your group or finish in a high enough place, then you're going to be moving on to the World Cup. That's why I'm not talking about Africa right now, because again, they're not at that stage of qualifying yet. And I and just about everyone else is. Okay. And then I'm not talking about Oceania, which, by the way, Oceania, that's where New Zealand, Fiji, the islands, American Samoa, that's where all of those national teams play, by the way. But the Oceania Football Confederation hasn't even started qualifying their teams to move on to the World Cup. I'm not bullshitting. You can look this up right now. They're not starting their qualifiers for the World Cup until next year. Okay, when the World Cup is supposed to be played. Now, obviously, are they going to get it done in time? Yes, of course they are. But again, Oceania, that whole confederation has not even started the process of their World Cup qualifiers yet. So there is literally no reason for me to speak about it when I don't even know which teams are going to be playing in which groups and who I think is going to move on. Okay, simple as that. So until when Africa gets to the third round, then, if I remember, if someone reminds me, then I'll talk about them. Then I'll pick who I think's moving on, talk a bit about the teams. When Oceania starts to actually qualify for the World Cup, then I'll talk about the Oceania and their confederation and which national teams I think's moving on. But until then, I'm not going to be speaking. That's why I'm leaving them out of today's video for the World Cup qualifiers, okay? Now that we're past that understanding, let's start with the AFC, the Asian Football Confederation, okay? So they are currently in two groups. And again, I'm going to try to explain who qualifies and how they qualify as best as I can. So follow along with me here, especially if you don't know. So the Asian Football Confederation, they have two groups, okay? They have Group A and they have Group B in this stage of World Cup qualifying. So they have 6 teams in each group. Now, if you finish, the top 2 teams that finish in Group A and Group B qualify for the World Cup. They're in. If you finish third in Group A and Group B, then the third place teams, they go to a fourth round. And this is how it works at the Asian Football Confederation. They go to a fourth round in a single match. So those 2 teams play each other. And whoever wins that game will go and play in the Interconfederation playoffs, which, trust me, if this is all like, what the hell is he talking about? Look, I'll explain it. I'll try to explain a little bit. The Interconfederation playoffs are basically for the teams that finish third, fourth, or whatever in their groups, and they're going to play against teams from other continents, and those are the teams that, and whoever wins that like mini tournament game is going to be moving on to the World Cup. Again, if it's a bit complex, I'm trying to break this down as simple as I can, as easy as possible. So, and to not complicate things anymore, I'm just going to talk about the groups. So in Group A, for, again, the Asian Football Confederation, we have Iran, the United Arab Emirates, South Korea, Iraq, Lebanon, and Syria. Now, again, the top 2 teams in each group qualify for the World Cup in this one. I believe that Iran and South Korea are going to finish top 2 in their group. I think they're going to qualify. And then in third place, going into the fourth round and potential confederation playoffs, I think that the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, are going to finish in third place. Again, South Korea should be topping this group, by the way. They got Son Heung-min and then other very talented Korean footballers who are just good in general. Iran has been pretty dominant in a sense in Asia. So, I think they're going to be fine. And then the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, are going to be a surprise. Now, again, I don't think they're topping the group, but going to the Interconfederation playoffs, I could see as a big possibility. So that's who I think is going to finish in third. Next up, Group B. In Group B, you have Australia, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Japan, Vietnam, and then China. I think that Australia and Japan are going to top this group, and those are the 2 teams for me that are going to be moving on to the World Cup. I think Saudi Arabia is going to finish in third, okay? Now, Saudi Arabia may not be the best team when it comes to the actual World Cup, although they have had good runs in the past. But Saudi Arabia, I feel, is actually quite good when it comes to qualifying for the World Cup. They got a couple decent players here and there. So I'm going to go with Saudi Arabia finishing third, having a potential chance to go to the Confederation playoffs. But Australia and Japan are first. So in total, just a quick recap. I believe that Iran, South Korea, Australia, and Japan are going to be qualifying for the World Cup, representing the Asian Football Confederation, just Asia in general, as well as their countries. And then the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia are going I think are going to play each other in the fourth round in that single match. And then one of those teams is going to move on to the Confederation playoffs. So those are my thoughts. And yeah, moving on to the next confederation. I have it here. Now, the biggest and most competitive, we're moving on to UEFA, ladies and gentlemen. UEFA, the Union of European Football Associations, okay? So they have 10 groups, okay? Again, Europe's like they have 10 groups, okay? And all these teams are qualifying, obviously, to be in the World Cup. So here's how it works in Europe, or UEFA per se. The winner of each group, so you have to finish number one in your group. So the winner of each group qualifies for the World Cup. And then if you finish second in your group, the second place team, follow me here, second place team, they go to a second round, which will be contested by everyone. So if you finish second, you basically go to another group to play against each other, along with the two best Nations League group winners. So a total of 12 total teams. Now, if you're asking me right now, wait, Josh, who determines the two best Nation League group winners? Okay, look, it's not determined yet. Things can still change. So the Nations League group winners, whoever they may be, we'll get to them at that point in the qualifying stage. And if you don't know what the Nations League is in Europe, I'm not going to explain that because that might be a little too complex. And again, this is World Cup. So the 12, but again, 12 total teams in the second round. And basically, those 12 teams are going to be separated into 3 playoff paths. So 4 teams here, 4 teams here, 4 teams here. 3 playoff paths between those 12 teams in the second round. And the winners of each path, the winner of path this path, and this path, are the teams that will qualify for the World Cup for UEFA. Hopefully that makes sense. To me, it makes perfect sense. But to you, if you're like, I'm not too sure, it's okay. It's okay. Anyway, so I'm going to go through all the groups and the teams, and I'm going to say, obviously, who I think will be moving on, qualifying for the World Cup. And then I'm also going to be naming who I think will finish in second place. And again, that second place team goes to the second round where they can still have a potential chance to qualify for the World Cup. But that's how we're going to put it so we can keep it in simpler terms for everyone. So Group A, we've got Portugal, Serbia, Luxembourg, the Republic of Ireland, and Azerbaijan. I think Portugal's going to win. I think they're going to win this group and qualify for the World Cup. Cristiano Ronaldo, if you didn't see the other day, scored 2 brilliant headers to beat the Republic of Ireland in like the 89th minute to tie and then like the 95th or 96th minute to win the game. Incredible stuff. And he now holds the record for most goals scored for international men's soccer competition. This is why he's one of the GOATs. Ronaldo is unbelievable. This is why he's one of the GOATs. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. So I think Portugal is going to win the group, move on. I think Serbia is going to finish in second, therefore giving them a chance to still be able to qualify for the World Cup. That's what I believe. I think Serbia will finish second. Moving on, Group B, you got Spain, Sweden, Kosovo, Greece, and Georgia. I think Spain will top this group, go to the World Cup, and I think Sweden will finish in second, so they still have a chance to make the World Cup as well. Group C then. You have Italy, Switzerland, Northern Ireland, Bulgaria, Lithuania. I think Italy should top this group easily. They're the European champions. There's no doubt in my mind. I believe they'll finish first, move on to the World Cup. As for who will finish second and still have a chance to make it, Switzerland. I'm going to go with Switzerland because Northern Ireland, Bulgaria, and Lithuania are just not at the level I believe Switzerland's at. Okay, so that's that. Moving on then. Group D, you got France, Ukraine, Finland, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Kazakhstan. France is going to win this group. They should be able to top this group, move on to the World Cup. They are currently the World Cup champions, and I have no doubt in my mind they'll qualify again, especially in this group, okay? No one comes close to their talent. I think finishing in second will be Ukraine. Again, you guys know I like a couple teams from the Ukrainian league, and Ukraine players actually play for those teams. Again, I like, big fan of Stepanenko, Konoplyanka, them, Andrei Yarmolenko, who plays in the Premier League, Zinchenko for City. Like, I like Ukraine, okay? I really like the Ukraine team. I think they'll finish second and have a chance to qualify for the World Cup. Moving on, Group E. You've got Belgium, the Czech Republic, Wales, Belarus, Estonia. Belgium should top this group. I think they'll, qualify for the World Cup yet again, and they'll top this group. I think coming in second will be Wales, actually. It's either Wales or Czech Republic, but I'm going with Wales, although that could be a toss-up. But I'm going with Wales because they still got a decent team, Wales. If Aaron Ramsey's fit and healthy, Gareth Bale as well. And then Dan James. I can't believe I'm saying, but Dan James is actually one of the top players for Wales. So they're going to need him as well. So that's why I'm going to go with Wales finishing in second, still having a chance to qualify for the World Cup. Group F. You've got Denmark, Israel, Austria, Scotland, the Faroe Islands, and Moldova. I'm going to roll with Denmark at topping this group and going to the World Cup. I think Christian Eriksen's back, and then Denmark had an incredible run in the Euros. I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. And then I'm going to go with Austria finishing second, potentially being able to qualify for the World Cup still. Look, Austria have got some good players, man. They've got the likes of David Alaba. They've got the likes of Marcel Sabitzer, who now plays for Bayern Munich. They've got Marko Arnautovic, who I've always thought was quality on his day. So Austria's got some good players. I don't see Scotland doing much in this group, to be honest. And then Israel. I would actually love to see Israel go second and still have a chance to qualify for the World Cup. Seeing Israel do that would be really, really cool, especially with, some Israeli teams finally being in European competition like Maccabi Tel Aviv, okay? But I'm going to go with Austria finishing second. It'd be cool to see Israel, though. Now, Group G. Very competitive group in Group G. You've got Turkey, the Netherlands, Montenegro, Norway, Latvia, and Gibraltar. I think the Netherlands will top this group, qualify for the World Cup. And then it's a toss-up between Montenegro, Turkey, and Norway. I don't think Latvia and Gibraltar are going to do much. But between those three, it's a toss-up for who can finish second and move on to still be able to qualify for the World Cup, potentially. I'm going to go with Norway for the sole fact that they have a guy by the name of Erling Haaland. You might have heard of him before. You might have not. They got Erling Haaland, okay? And then Josh King is not a bad striker as well. Now, I know you must be thinking, are you really comparing Josh King to Erling Haaland? No, I'm not. I'm just saying Josh King, though, can be a good national player for his country as well. So, yeah, and I like Josh King, okay? I like Josh King. But Erling Haaland is obviously miles better. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Norway finishing second and potentially qualifying for the World Cup as well. Although Turkey, they got a good side, Yazici and all them. Ruben Kazan on his day is all right. So, yeah, maybe, but I'm going to go with Norway. Now, Group H, you got Croatia, Russia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Malta, and Cyprus. Croatia made the World Cup final all those years ago, 2018. I think they're going to be topping this group. They still got quality players, Croatia. I think Modric is still playing. Hopefully, we'll see Perisic back and Skriniar and them. And like Croatia's just got a good side. I think they'll be qualifying for the World Cup, finishing top of this group. In second, I'm going to go with Russia. I think Russia, if they played anything like they played in the 2018 World Cup in this group stage to qualify for the World Cup, they're going to make it. They're going to finish second and have a chance to potentially qualify for the World Cup yet again. So yeah, there you go. And I actually like Russia. They've got good players. Denis Cheryshev, big fan of Denis Cheryshev. These are all players I think still play for the national team, but I like Denis Cheryshev. I like Jagoev. I think he's quality. Mario Fernandez. I think I got his name right. Mario Fernandez. I liked him as a player. Artem Juba, the big Russian center forward. He's good, and he can be good in the air as well. So yeah, definitely some players on Russia. Oh, and Alexander Golovin, who the Russian managers called their magician. I like Golovin a lot as well. Quality player. Moving on then, Group I, you got England. I'm just going to stop you right. England's topping this group, moving on to the World Cup. That's my prediction. Don't even have to think twice. So England, Hungary, Albania, Poland, Andorra, San Marino. I think Poland should be able to finish second in this group for a potential chance of qualifying for the World Cup. Although Albania and Hungary are putting up a fight currently, but I think Poland should be able to do it. They've got Robert Lewandowski, okay? They got that man. And then Krychowiak. They also got Krychowiak. I know out of all the Polish players, I'm thinking of Krychowiak right now, but he's good as well. So Poland should be fine. Now, moving on to the last and final group, Group J. Another competitive group. Armenia, North Macedonia, Germany, Romania, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. I think Germany will finish top of this group, move on, qualify for the World Cup. Finishing second, it's a toss-up between Armenia, North Macedonia, Romania. I'm going to go with North Macedonia, though. I know Goran Pandev is very old at this point. He's a very, very old player. Definitely not the same player he was years ago, but he could still get a goal or two for his national team. I really like Goran Pandev, and that's a main reason why I'm going to put North Macedonia down for finishing second. Overall, they got a fine team as well. But again, I think they'll finish second, potentially qualifying for the World Cup. So in total, in summary, the teams that I think are officially going to top their group and move on and qualify for the World Cup are Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, Belgium, Denmark, Netherlands, Croatia, England, and Germany. The teams that I think will finish in second, potentially moving on to the World Cup, possibly Serbia, Sweden, Switzerland, Ukraine, Wales, Austria, Norway, Russia, Poland, and North Macedonia. And that's that for UEFA. Sorry a second. Now, moving on to the next confederation per se. The CONCACAF, where we are, the Confederation of North, Central American, and Caribbean Association Football, aka CONCACAF. So this is how CONCACAF works when qualifying for this year's World Cup. We have a group of teams. It's only one group. It's not like the other two confederations where it's two groups, and for Europe, a lot. This is just one group, okay, for CONCACAF. Here are the teams in this one group. You've got Canada, Honduras, El Salvador, the United States of America, Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Jamaica. So you have 8 teams in this group, and here's how it works for CONCACAF. The top 3 teams, if you finish in the top 3 of this group, you're going to the World Cup. If you finish in 4th, then you go to the Interconfederation playoffs, which is a potential chance of you still being able to potentially move on to go to the World Cup, okay? That's how it works. This is a lot simpler and a lot easier. Well, I mean, in my opinion, all the groups are easy, but this is more simple for just being one group and qualifying. So the top 3 teams that I think the teams that I think that will finish in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, in no particular order, by the way, because again, if you finish 1, 2, 3, you're going to the World Cup. I think the Canada, Mexico, and the US are all going to finish in the top 3 and qualify for the World Cup. I just think these teams are miles ahead of certain teams in this group, like Panama and Honduras and El Salvador. Although on their day, again, they can be good teams. Okay. But again, I just think they're just a lot better than them. And with Canada up on the up, Jonathan David, I really like Alphonso Davies. Big fan of Alphonso Davies. He's going to scorch the teams he plays against. And then you got Kyle Larin, who I've always thought was good. So there's him as well. And yeah, so Canada, US, Mexico, finishing top 3, moving on to the World Cup, no particular order. Now, again, 4th place goes to the Interconfederation playoffs, who I think will finish in 4th place and go there with a potential chance of still moving on to the World Cup, is Jamaica. I think Jamaica will beat the likes of Honduras, El Salvador, Panama, and Costa Rica there. So Jamaica, for me, will be finishing 4th. I like Jamaica as a team. I'm a big fan of Kamar Lawrence, former New York Red Bull. And then I really, really like Leon Bailey, who has just joined Aston Villa in the Premier League. So I think Jamaica will finish 4th. That's all I got to say for CONCACAF. Moving on now to the last Confederation Association we'll be talking about today for the World Cup qualifiers, CONMEBOL, the South American Football Confederation. It's very similar to CONCACAF, where it's just one group of teams, except the only difference is there's more teams in this group, therefore more will be able to qualify due to there being more teams. So here are the teams in this group for the South American Football Confederation. You've got the likes of Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador, Uruguay, Colombia, Paraguay, Chile, Bolivia, Venezuela, and Peru. Very, very competitive group, as you can tell. Now, the top 4 teams in this group for CONMEBOL, here's how this one works. The top 4 teams qualify. You're going to the World Cup. The 5th place team gets to go to the Interconfederation playoffs, where they have a chance of still making and qualifying for the World Cup 2022 Qatar. Oh yeah. So that's how this one's going to work. Now, the 4 teams that I think, the teams that I think will finish top 4 in the group in no particular order. Brazil. I mean, do I even need to explain why Brazil? That Neymar, Richarlison, although Richarlison's not currently with them, but theoretically Richarlison, Lucas Paqueta, Ederson in goal. I really don't need to explain why Brazil. I'm not going to explain. It's freaking Brazil, bro. They're always good. So Brazil, Argentina. I don't even need to have to explain that one either. The GOAT, Lionel Messi. Yep. So yeah, Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Colombia are the teams that I think will finish top 4 in this group and qualify for the World Cup. You know, Uruguay, Cavani and Suarez, you know, they've been manning those front 2 striker roles, and they've been awesome for their country. So I don't think that's changing. Don't care about their age. Just don't think it's changing. And then Colombia, when Yerry Mina gets back, and if James Rodriguez gets back, you know, obviously they're not there right now, but Colombia should have. I mean, they got Luis Diaz. Okay, Colombia should have more than enough to make do of this. So there's that. The team that I think will be finishing in 5th place and going to the Interconfederation playoffs. You know, I want to go with Ecuador. Okay, Ecuador has actually been doing pretty decent lately. And I think, you know, it's a fun pick. Now, some people will be like, really? Over Chile? Over Alexis Sanchez, Arturo Vidal, you know, all that? Yes, I get that. But I'm going to go with Ecuador. I think Ecuador will get that final spot and still have a chance to qualify for the World Cup. That's what I believe. And again, I know I've been saying Interconfederation playoffs. So again, the Interconfederation playoffs, ladies and gentlemen, determine the final 2 qualification spots to go to the World Cup. I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to overcomplicate things for you. And when the time comes, when the teams are playing against each other in the Interconfederation playoffs, then we'll take a more deep look at it so we can see, again, determine the final 2 spots that go into the World Cup. So yeah, that was the 2022 World Cup qualifiers talks, and who I think and I believe will move straight on immediately to the World Cup. And I also named the teams who I think will not move on right away, but they still have a chance to qualify for football's biggest event. And then to recap, just to recap, the teams who I believe will go to the World Cup straight away immediately: Iran, South Korea, Australia, Japan, Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, Belgium, Denmark, Netherlands, Croatia, England, Germany, Canada, United States of America, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia. That's what I think is going to move on right away. And I would like to know, by the way, guys, I would like to know your thoughts about this as well. So leave in the comments who you think is going to move on to the World Cup right away as well. And then the teams that I think could potentially still move on to the World Cup if they finish good enough in their groups. Again, I believe, these were my teams that I picked potentially: United Arab Emirates, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Serbia, Sweden, Switzerland, Ukraine, Wales, Austria, Norway, Russia, Poland, North Macedonia, Jamaica, and Ecuador. And again, leave in the comments below if you think differently. If you think, no, I think this team is going to move on to this team, or I think this will happen instead of this. Again, leave it down in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts about World Cup qualifiers, because again, it is coming. It is right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen, and we're not going to want to miss who is going to be moving on. And if you've liked this video, ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to leave a like on the video. It only takes a second. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really means a whole lot, and it helps the channel a lot as well. Turn on your bell notification so you don't miss another video. And again, as always, leave your thoughts in the comments below as to what you want me to talk about next potentially, and your thoughts on who you think will go straight to the World Cup and who could potentially move on to qualify for the World Cup. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again, especially if you've made it this far. And until next time.